It's kind of sad because all the other people will go out and sit together and smoke cigarettes and laugh and joke and talk bad about this guy and talk gossip about that person, and then, go talking about price changes and things that go on with the employees at the store, and, some kind of weird interaction with a customer or some kind of product thing that happened on the truck. And you see how they're so sucked into their life and their personal ego life that they can't even see the big picture that they're alive. They're going to get done today. They're going to go home and eat. They're going to make sure they get to work tomorrow. They're going to do that. And it's all meaningless. The thing that really matters beyond it is the stuff that I'm trying to point out. You don't want to do this with your life. We don't need a world where the freedom that we consider freedom is to have market, where you can sell meaningless junk and have a good life, while people who actually give a damn about others, including you, because you're poisoning yourself and other people, and a person who cares about you is looked at as a dumbass or a jerk or somebody who doesn't know what he's talking about, because the real world is suffering because we're all playing make-believe, wanting to be princes and princesses and kings and queens who live however we want to have everything we dream of. And the actual opposite is what we're here to do. To remove those temptations, to not be so easily manipulated and duped into doing things for something that doesn't matter. And that's all we've been doing all this time, especially since we started the industrial boom and everyone started making big factories with meaningless shit that toxified the planet and the environment. Do you see why? People need to understand these things. They need to open their hearts back up. Because if we keep putting holes in the boat's going to sink. And we're putting a lot of holes and doing a lot of damage to the planet that we live on. Now think about it, please. I know I say that all the time, but I'm just asking people to start thinking and really think. Don't just go, oh, I heard it. That means I thought. No, you didn't. Because if you did, you'd stop eating all the garbage. You'd stop contributing, and you'd start standing out and saying something about what really matters in the world. And damn it, I care about you, so I'll keep saying this. It's sad that there are so many people who really, really come across as really good people, but they believe so much in the Bible. This guy just comes in and says, it's that underlying power that's happening. I'm like, well, what's that underlying power you're talking about? He's like, Satan. I'm like, Satan isn't some being. He's like, oh, there is a devil. I'm like, so do you think there's some dude down under the ground where it's fire and brimstone and everything's burning? And he's like, oh yeah, the devil is there. It says it in the Bible. I'm like, the Bible is not literal. The Bible is energetic. And he's like, oh no, it's not. There's a lake of fire. If you've read the Bible, you'll understand. I know exactly what every word in the Bible means, and I could explain it to you, but you're not going to take the time. I've experienced it. I haven't read it. I know it. This is something that is in me, that if you actually care about what is true, you'd listen instead of telling me what a book said that you read or listened to and you learned what they taught you. Just like when you went to school and learned that the laws are made by the government and the government's here to protect you. You believe that too, I bet. Because the same guy has been talking about Trump and talking about government like they're going to do something great for us. But then you just tie that together with Satan, and don't you understand that government actually represents that idea? They want to say it and have it done. Oh, wow. It's just so simple that people can't handle it. The devil means to develop yourself. You want to develop your I, no matter what it takes for other people to suffer. You want to develop your I. You want to develop yourself. That's what devil means. It's not some dude with fucking horns. You're not going to go to some place where you burn. You're going to go to a place where it sucks so bad. That's the idea of hell. You're going to come back and go through hardships. That's hell. How can that not be understood? And these people are like elders, and they're so confused. They just have no idea how lost they are. When I go deep into oneness, it truly is leaving the seeming to be real world behind and embracing the truth. As much as I say it, and as often as the people who interact with me on a normal basis hear that I remember many, many lifetimes. I don't know how I'm supposed to just turn that off. It's hard for people to imagine that as I walk around looking like this, a guy in his 40s, blah, blah, blah. I remember being a little girl. I remember being a teenage girl. Different people, different little kids, different men, different grown-ups. I remember being a whore. I remember being a killer. I remember being a mother. I remember being a widow. I remember being a witch. It's like I remember being all the words we could imagine to call people, and then some. I've been every reflection of attitude in a physical body, and that will never go away. I just don't know how I'm supposed to put that off and act like everyday stuff matters some, when it really doesn't, unless it happens to be one of those few things that somebody's doing right, and I don't see too much of that going on. Imagine how you'd feel if that was your situation. You can't just turn it off, but you have to act like what people are doing matters. It's a kind of sad thing, like I've said many times before. People will come in and more often than not resort back to quoting the Bible and saying something like, yes, this is what the Revelation said. And I'm like, yes, I guess. But if you just think about it, what does revelation mean? It means when things are revealed. And what I'm doing is revealing things to you. And instead of actually listening, you keep saying the book said this would happen. And I'm like, yes, and it's happening now. And now instead of listening to what the modern day interactive living word is doing, you're looking at an old word in an old book that does apply on an energetic level, but we're living. So we're supposed to be changing this and doing better. See, it doesn't matter what those words say. You're not bound to them, or else you wouldn't be able to move and act and think. And you can. So quit saying it's the revelation, because it's being revealed to you what we do now. Instead of just keep saying, it's the revelation. Okay, well, what's being revealed to you? Anything? Just that humanity is kind of sick and we need to grow up? Yeah. And how do we do that? How do we prove to people that there's a divine meaning behind all this? Oh, that's what I'm revealing. Yes, the revelation is here. And it happens to be part of who I am. If that's hard for people to accept, I'm sorry, but it happens to be the case. I'm not talking about everyday normal stuff that everyone else talks about. I'm talking about the depth of what we all are. And this is where I'm always at. Every moment of the day, this doesn't go away. I don't just turn into some guy you'll meet on the corner talking about the sports scores. No, I'm talking about truth, God, universe, us as one living entity. That's all there really is here. And until you get your mind out of all that other stuff that distracts you, you'll never really see it. But I'm here to reveal it to you. This is how it is. Knowing that I have such a profound meaning and so many things that I could do to help people, it makes everyday life kind of daunting. Let's say, for instance, I have something that I want to record because unfortunately no one listens to anything or actually wants to do anything in person. So I want to record something that is very important for other people to know and to understand. But in order for me to be able to record, I have to wait because I'm standing at a job that I don't want to be at, that I can't find any way out of, that I can't get anyone to cooperate and do actually moral things in society. So therefore I'm at this job, wanting to record something very important that I can't do until a woman and her children come in and they're looking through the candy. And the child says, "This one's cotton candy flavored. Cotton candy's my favorite." And the mom goes, "Oh yeah, it is. Didn't you try some of this kind over at JJ's house? You didn't like it, did you? Well, you can try some this time. Take a couple bites and see if you like it." And the whole time it's all just candy with neurotoxic chemicals in them. There is no once in a while for that. There is no, it's okay, it's not a big deal, because it is. And while I'm trying to do something important, now I'm just waiting for someone to harm their own children and listen to it with happiness, because I love hearing the child's voice being so full of wonder and like, "Mommy, look at it, but then cotton candy's my favorite. Here, let me get you some junk. Let me poison you, because I don't want you to be any smarter than me, because then you might challenge my bad habits." Deep down, that's the problem with most people. They just don't even know it. And if they have it said like that, they get offended. When it comes to the mass slaughter of animals, and for someone to say, "What you're saying is true, the way we treat nature and animals is horrible," and you just keep believing in what you believe in. I'm like, there's no belief in saying that it's horrible to chop a living thing up into pieces so that you can eat it when you don't need to. I mean, there's no belief in that. That's true. It's actually true that you shouldn't destroy or chop anything up just because you want to. Now, if you're doing it to survive, then do the least harm possible. That's where plants come into play. Hey, of course, obvious. Plus, there's the less suffering and pain that go into the memory of those things and the production. Obviously, this isn't a belief. This is true. Living in reality means you're living in reality when you know that what you're doing is contributing to a negative thing. Be moral enough to stop doing it. Don't get mad at the person who's pointing out that what you're doing is negative and you're only doing it for money, and money is actually causing us to harm each other and people are being rewarded for it. And when that is the reality needs changed, and the only way that can happen is when people who are actually really here, who can think and do what is right, not just do what is told, that's when that applies. This is where we need people who are actually with reality, not just saying it, not just saying, "Yeah, man, I know what you mean," really working towards changing it. because complaining about it is just getting annoying as shit, and nobody wants to hear it anymore. But all they're going to do is resort back to what they've always done and just be listeners, followers, slaves. This is how we're going to end up being? No. Let's do something, please. Somebody out there? Anybody? Someone said, oh, it's not that people aren't hearing you, and it's not that people aren't watching what you're saying. They just don't know how to respond to it. They don't know how to react because it's so different and it's so in-your-face real. People aren't used to that when they're expected to go chase after money, save up for their next vacation, go on a trip somewhere, put all your money on some gambling app. That's all make-believe, and everyone's so used to that. When somebody hits them in the face with reality, they go, oh, I don't want you to talk to me because you just make me think about what's real, and I don't want to feel that. But realize that if you don't ever confront yourself about that, you will keep doing this over and over and over, and you'll get caught on each little detail. The gambling, the sex, the drugs, the overdoing everything. And sometimes it'll be concentrated as one of them as a major thing, and sometimes it'll be all of them. I went through all of them in this lifetime. And that's what enabled me to trigger the other ones to remember the past lives. You don't have to go through it all. You have to open your heart and realize that you are it all from one point. And there are infinite points. You can be. But once you've seen that, you're ready to move on to something better. Why would anyone think I'm saying this for fun? Do you think I want to look like a freak? When I tell people that I've seen the beginning of time, I'm not playing. They're just trying to envision it some way that makes sense to them in the world that we live in now. And actual reality has nothing to do with what we're doing on Earth. What we're doing on Earth is working through energy patterns and feelings and emotions and seeing how we manage when we come into a world that's so backwards and so wrong. And the only way that we're ever going to evolve as people is basically going against what we always thought we were supposed to do. And to explain that, money is important to people right now in the world, although it's fake. But if that money happened to be something that was hurting your person, your family, your environment, your household, then you'll say, wait a minute, I'm not going to do this no matter how much money's involved. Okay, well, in the same way, without money there, you're meant to see what is being done wrong in the world and stand against it instead of embracing it. Now, you're given names, coordinates, and basically vibrational patterns that go along with and match other vibrational patterns. And based on what the world is doing at whatever present time you're in, you will vibrate with it until you take it upon yourself to remove yourself from the world the way it is and start seeing it better and living it better. Then you'll be putting out a different vibration. Doesn't mean that everyone else won't still be in theirs because everyone's doing it. And as vibrational patterns change, people will fit in their vibration. The way that we do this is by caring enough to do the right thing and not doubting ourselves when we know that it's wrong to do something. And then we are told to do it anyway. We have to stand up and say, no, I will not do this because it's wrong. I will not poison my community, no matter how much you pay me. And even if I have a job and you happen to be what is considered my boss, and you tell me to do something that's harmful for myself, for others, for my people that I love, for the community I live in, no, you're in the wrong. Most of the corporate people are in the wrong, obviously. So we've got to stand up to that. And it's not trying to confront each individual person, it's confronting what they're doing. That's the point. Stop taking it so personal and thinking that you are your job. You're not your job. You just happen to be doing it. Now stop doing it because you happen to be doing wrong. Understand what I'm saying? It shouldn't be that difficult. I'm trying to put it in simple words, even though it's something that's so hard for people to understand. Even though when you hear it, you're like, yeah, it should be pretty easy to understand the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have done to you. Nope. For some reason, people do unto others however they want, and they don't want it done to them, instead of living properly. We're all gonna die someday, this guy says, after he buys a cart full of garbage, a couple packs of smokes, a bunch of deodorants and Axe deodorant. He's like, well, I got all these digital coupons. That's awesome. Look, I only paid $9 for all this stuff. And there was like 20-some things because he had all these digital coupons. And he used his reward points to get garbage. And I said, well, yeah, that's good. I mean, this is very good. He's like, what do you mean it's pretty good? I mean, you can't beat that. And I'm like, you can beat it, honestly. Just don't buy any of that. Don't consume it. Don't get addicted to it. And don't put chemicals into your body. And he's like, well, we're all going to die someday. Well, that wasn't all he said. He literally was like, well, what makes you say all that? I'm like, well, you know that this isn't natural stuff, right? You know, this isn't how it appears in reality. It doesn't grow in nature like this. And they add all kinds of non-food things to your food that make you non-organic anymore. The more and more people start coming around, they'll start seeing how unorganic we've become. Not inorganic, unorganic. We can heal ourselves. Our bodies are made to heal, and our bodies are made to do certain processes in a certain way. And the more and more we put foreign materials in our body, the more and more our processes are interfered with, obviously. And he goes like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Sounds really interesting, but we're going to die someday. I'm like, yeah, actually, we don't die. We just change, and I can prove it if that's what you need. And he's like, I don't care. I'm going to die someday. I'm going to live happy. I'm like, living happy requires eating dead animals? Like, what about happiness to other things? Can it make you happy that other things didn't have to get harmed for you? Doesn't that make you happy? It makes me happy, really happy. Not the idea of, oh boy, joy. No, it makes me really happy knowing that my actions are not causing violence or harm to anyone or anything. Even my food. I know what goes into my food. So, in the very few things that I order, that's still there. But the access to it isn't made available because people want to keep control of you. If we started having people in our areas actually work on growing their own food and having indoor grow houses working together as a community, we wouldn't need any of this garbage. We could actually say, hey, the only thing that we should be learning in life is how to build our own homes, grow our own food supply, purify the toxicity we've put out into the world, and trades. Because that way, if you need something done, not only does somebody have to give you a material, they can do something for you or help you learn how to do something for yourself. Do you see how simple this would be? It's completely simple. And it's not the idea of voluntarism. We need to shut down all the corporations and all the manufacturers. That's what I'm talking about. These people say like voluntarism, property ownership, like fuck property ownership. We're all sharing the world. Simple as that. If you need a place to stay, you could stay where I'm at if I'm not there. If I need a place to stay, I'll sleep outside. If it's raining, I'll find a bus stop or I'll live in my little hut. But the world happens to have me in an organized spot right now where the government is keeping tabs on me and taking the money that I work for, doing things that I don't want to do because no one actually wants to help me do the right thing. And then I have people tell me, you're not going to die someday. No, we're not. We just change. We just die. As in change shape, not change your color of your hair. We die. That's what Christ does. He died in order to become me. And I realize it. I'm not a joker. I'm the truth.